At this juncture, I acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Philip Jackson, Minister of Education, Vocational Training, Innovation, Digital Transformation and Information. We also have seated at the head table on Minister Jackson's right, Mrs. Aldia Gums-Dyer, who is a Senior Education Officer in the Ministry of Education et al. Mr. Petrus Gomes, Chief Executive Officer of the National Center for Technological Innovation, the NCTI. Mr. Apollo Knights, Director of the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, the NTRC. Mr. Ironi Evans, Manager of Kingston Cooperative Credit Union Limited, the KCCU. Ms. Shanda Davis, representing the LEAF project, which stands for Local Engagement and Action Fund. Ms. Kamisha Bailey, Coordinator of the Eco Youth Ventures project. Educators, I recognize several of you. Students, other specially invited guests, members of the media. It's really my pleasure to welcome all of you to this IT conference hosted by the NCTI under the auspices of the Ministry of Education, Vocational Training, Innovation, Digital Transformation, and Information. This morning we'll hear all about what's happening in the realm of technology, in the education sector, in the business sector, and so forth, while highlighting some of the key players in the corporate sector doing their part in driving this momentum. Of course, as we go along, you will, I'm sure, get some new information about the NTRC. We do have a little quiz. I believe that you should have received it on your way in. So we'll be going through the questions. And without any further ado, we will now hear from the minister who has to leave, so he will present and then make his exit as he has to attend the parliament. So at this time, it's my pleasure to invite to the lectern the Minister of Education, Vocational Training, Innovation, Digital Transformation and Information, the Honorable Philip Jackson.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to see you, happy to have you here at this conference of the NCTI, National Center for Technological Innovation. Let me just recognize Ms. Dyer from the Curriculum Unit in the Ministry, the CEO of the NCTI, Mr. Petrus Gomes, the Director of the NTRC, which is the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, Mr. Apollo Knights, Mr. Evans from KCCU, sponsor of the first virtual robotics competition. We're looking forward for your continued support. We're happy to have you here, and your presence at the head table confirms that commitment. We're very happy for that. Shanda Davis from LEAF Project, and Kamisha Bailey from Eco Youth Ventures. And I also like to recognize, I see Principal Mr. Bowman from the Mountain View Adventist Academy, my alma mater. Spent my first 3 years there, and also students from Mountain View who won the inaugural virtual robotics competition. And you hear a little bit more about the connection between that accomplishment and what was then called the I-Squared competition, but has been renamed as I-Code 784. There are a lot of beautiful stories in the room today, and I happen to just have the humble privilege of being part of many of them, and now serve as the minister that brings together a lot of important areas in education, technology, digital transformation. I'd also like to recognize Ms. Shelley-Ann Fraser from Digital Transformation Project, which is an important component of our ministry. So, very happy to be here. Now, first of all, let me congratulate the NCTI for this conference. Mr. Gums, in understanding the important role of the NCTI as a convener of all things technology, together with your partners within the ministry. And if I might brag a little bit, the Ministry of Education, Vocational Training, Innovation, Digital Transformation and Information brings together for the first time in one ministry very important institutions and entities to drive the technology agenda for St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the 21st century. I just want to appreciate the Prime Minister's vision in bringing together all of these critical elements together. And like I said, it's a beautiful story in the room because in my professional life, I've had the pleasure of engaging in all of these elements. And it's a real humbling feeling to be given the honor of leading in this ministry. So yes, I recently attended the NCTI sponsored a training program for adults, digital skills for adults. It was awesome. I mean, the energy in the room when we went to the public library for the graduation ceremony was awesome, and the testimonies given by the adults were really encouraging. So I just want to big up the NCTI for thinking about our elderly citizens and understanding their need for digital skills. I mentioned the virtual robotics competition that my alma mater, Mountain View Adventist Academy, won. And I just want to say, Mr. Horn, Noah Horn, who is a teacher at the Mountain View Adventist Academy, he won about 6-7 years ago. He and his cousin Miles Jones, they won the I-Square competition back then with Vinci Agri Marketplace, which was a futuristic app about developing a two-sided market for the agricultural sector, where producers and buyers can come together and meet each other. And it was awesome. I just thought it was awesome. And Mr. Nice, you could be proud of the legacy, because many years later, here's Mr. Horn at the Mountain View Adventist Academy, leading his young team. And I see some of the students here, including my son was on that team, leading on the inaugural robotics competition and doing extremely well. So there's a legacy there, and it underscores, I think, the developmental importance of what the NCTI and the NTRC as an important partner is doing. And just to highlight, I know that the NCTI and the NTRC, they're collaborating on a very critical skills development. The government has recognized that skills is critical for our development, and there's a massive shortage of skills, as highlighted by the private sector and other entities. So recognizing that the NTRC and the NCTI have astutely partnered on the fiber optic splicing course, to certify. So this is awesome and important skills. So I want to encourage those of you here listening to make sure that, when is that coming out? When is the application coming out? Soon? Yeah, make sure that you be part of it. This is a very critical skill. So you already see the synergies being built up there. Now, a little bit about the NCTI and the robotics program. I want to tell you a secret, but it's not one we're on camera now. So, Mr. Guns, when I say we now, because I wear many caps, right? But some of them I took off and put on others. There was a time when I was the Science and Technology Advisor to the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines, and we head up the Science and Technology Unit. All the way back, Mr. Borg, when we were in the Ministry of Science and Technology and Industry back then. So we had about 30 robotics kits, 30. And this gentleman at the very end over there, in that blue shirt, Mr. Gums, he borrowed most of them and made very, very good use of those robotics kits. I don't know where they are now, but I'm sure they were in the school somewhere.
No, just a little plug in.
Yes.
Noah Hong is part of that course.
Oh, great. See?
Age 6.
I told you, there are beautiful stories in this room. So from those kits that we had in that unit, deploying robotics from way back when Noah was 6 years. Imagine that, and he's now 20-something. So imagine those kids left a legacy with Mr. Gums and his program he used to do in the summer, and then he came back now with the first robotics competition, the virtual one. But there's another side to the story. So we were in, and this is how all of it ties up, eh? So we were, you remember Mr. Knights, we were in Washington in 2019, May of 2019, and we were at the World Bank for what was called a digital moonshot. So the governor of the central bank, Mr. Timothy Antoine, and I just want to congratulate him on being elected for the third term as the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. He's a technologist by heart. He's a governor by profession, economist, but he loves technology. And just like our own NCTI, they are very cognizant of the development elements of what they do and making sure, even though they're regulators, give time, attention, and resources to the development aspects of technology. So we were in Washington for what was a digital moonshot. The intention back then was come away from those meetings, and we had all the big shots in the room, the ministers of ICTs and so on, the folks leading digital transformation at the World Bank. And for 2 or 3 days, we struggled trying to get this moonshot, which was supposed to be a big intervention in the OECS for digitalization. But we didn't come away with the moonshot. What we came away with, each country came away with what they thought was most important to them. But one legacy of that meeting is the digital transformation project, the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, where the government is spending over $80 million in digital transformation in the country, so that government services can be easier, you spend less time in lines, you capture data that can help citizen engagement and decision making. But the story about the Washington, so I took Mr. Knights to Lego store, and I said, I know you have the credit card for the NTRs there, but this is what's going to happen. We're going to buy the latest versions of the robotics kits. And he did. I think he bought 2 at the time, and then later investments he has expanded. So we now have physical robots as well as a virtual environment. And Mr. Evans have confirmed, well, after, I'm sure he's going to convince his bosses that he's going to add to the base so that we can expand out to more and more schools. You should clap for that. Yes, so I told you there are, legacies there. But let's go back to the ministry and its portfolio as the basis. So the ministry as it is now established an awesome basis for massive collaboration, complementarities and synergies in the area of technology, education, business adoption of technology, etc. And let me say we are all brothers and sisters now, including information. I see API here. We are all brothers and sisters now in the same family. And I want us to reimagine ourselves as working together to really transform the landscape for technology, digitalization, business transformation, and how we conduct education. Now I want to focus on some obvious and immediate opportunities for collaboration. I've always maintained that the iCode 784 competition is excellent, but Apollo will remember I've always argued for an accelerator, where we take the excellent ideas, surround the students with all of the competent individuals throughout the public service folks with engineering, computer engineering, you name it, business acumen, and put those ideas in an incubator to take them to a level where they can be implemented and adopted. So now, as minister, I think we now have a great opportunity between the NTRC and the NCTI to have that business incubator and accelerator to take the best of the ideas from the iCode 784 competition and take them to levels of adoption. So that's one immediate area of collaboration. And there are lots of professionals, ICT professionals in the public service. Some of them are not always fully employed. When I say employed, they're not totally busy all day, every day, right? In industry terms, they call that idle capacity, right? There's some idle capacity. Not that the professionals are idle, let's be careful. I'm using the term in a technical industrial sense. So I'm thinking, and I've thought about this aloud, so I'm just repeating, I'm echoing myself. We can use some of these professionals to help our students take their ideas to the next level, but more than that, and I'm coming to another area that's for collaboration. Some of these professionals can also spend some time in businesses. I see Mr. John there from Computech. Welcome. Computech was the first place I learned to send an email about 60 years ago. So thank you so much for your investments, early investments in technology, Mr. John. Yes, so here we have all of these professionals in the public sector. I think they can spend some time with a business in a rural community, helping them to understand what their digital needs are, and to do an audit of, oh, well, I think you could benefit from some process innovation here. We can help you with your email, your marketing. We can help you with a website. I think you can do with some sensors here. I think these professionals can be deployed for a specific amount of time in small businesses, driving the process. And the digital transformation is having a technology adoption program for small businesses and medium-sized businesses. And I know the NCTI is also planning that. So immediately there, Petrus, there's an opportunity for synergies and collaboration there. But I want us to reconceive of government as a resource for development throughout the entire economy. I don't want us to think in silos, oh well, this is public sector and that's private sector. The Prime Minister has already signaled that he wants to make sure that resources are deployed wherever they are needed. And it's important that we develop the architecture to flatten government a bit from just, oh, this is my ministry, don't mess. Let's flatten those, and so that human resources can be deployed wherever they are best suited for a period of time, including in the private sector, to help with digital transformation and technology adoption. So that is going to be one of the initiatives going forward. So this brings me to a question of structure. Now, for those of you in sciences and biology, you know that structure and function go well together. The heart is designed the way it is because it was intended to perform a certain function. So structure and function, and also structure and agency is important. So this is what we have done in the ministry so far. So with key persons in the NTRC and the NCTI and the other entities within the ministry, they sit on each other's boards. And that's critical. It therefore means that the conversation is always very fertile. And so that's part of this important structure. So Mr. Gums sits on the NTRC board, and folks from digital transformation sits on NCTI board. So immediately we have created a structure for synergy and complementarity. That means the conversation is all critical pursuits are always at the table for cross-fertilization. And more than that, let's talk about, so any IT teacher here? How is the IT Teachers Association going? Who's the president? When last you met? Right. So structure is important for function, agency, and sustainability. So I'm going to encourage the three of you present, have a conversation at lunch about how to revive the IT Teachers Association. Second, do we have a national ICT Professional Association? Mr. John, you know? No. I'm going to challenge all ICT professionals, digitalization professionals throughout the country, form an association, because this structure is important, because we can't have big dreams without proper structure. You know, it's like if you have to carry hundreds of blocks up a hill, we can't put it on a donkey cart, right? We have to put it on a proper truck with the proper engine to take it forward. So I would like to see these associations established both within the school framework and in the national framework to help to take these things forward. Master teaching. There's always a chronic, you know, lack of enough science and maths teachers. Am I talking the truth? I've been an educator too, right? Head of science department at grammar school for a couple of years. So I know the issue with science teachers. Won't it be wonderful if Mr. Bowman, one of the best chemistry teachers in the entire country, teaches a subject in chemistry, a topic in chemistry to everybody at the same time? We have the technology. We have used it during COVID, so we have the technology. So master teaching is a great opportunity for us to maximize our already slender resources. And this is a great opportunity to build the associations of science teachers so that they can agree on themselves. I will handle this part of this syllabus, you handle this part, and that increase the competence and ability to deliver. So master teaching. Think about how it can happen. We have our ideas at the ministry, and let's make sure this happens. In my budget speech, I already said, I want principals and head teachers to listen. Feel free to create a space in your curriculum for experimentation and innovation. Don't be afraid to give some time. For those of you in the primary school, the first 4 years, let's focus on foundational issues, right? Numeracy and literacy, and problem solving and creativity. The note subjects will come. When you can read and write well, the note subject, you can do that easier. But if you can't read and write, the note subject means nothing to you. So I'm giving permission, as I've already given. I'm giving you space to experiment for innovation in the lower primary school. And also in lower secondary school, create some space in the curriculum. A robotics club or a science club doesn't have to happen after 3 o'clock. You could put some space in the curriculum to make that happen. And run with that. If anything goes really, really, really wrong, then blame me. I will go to the people and I will take responsibility. But I'm saying up front, let's give ourselves space to be innovative and creative. That is how we're going to create this sort of transformation that's going to happen. So, in conclusion, we have the ministry with the perfect setup. That's established. And I already told our colleagues in API, VC3, and NBC Radio, I want you to tell beautiful stories about the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in all of their facets. Go find the great stories and tell them. Tell less stories about me as a politician and my colleagues. Go and tell stories about what the schools are doing, what a young business person is doing, what a farmer is doing, what an entrepreneur is doing. Go find the stories and tell them. Because when you tell stories about ourselves, you know, our imagination and our sense of belief increases. So so everything that you're doing, call on them. The API, VC3 and NBC Radio, hey, come, I have a great story, I want you to tell it to the world. And when you tell those stories to the world, then people see what you're doing and they come on board and support what you're doing, not only locally, but people from all around the world would come on board because they see, I want to be part of this beautiful story that is unfolding. So we have all of it. And I said to them, new media, animation, virtual reality, augmented reality. Very soon, I should be able to stand up in front of the barracks in Kingston, use my phone, get on an app for augmented reality, and as I move my phone around, I can see the history of Kingston from the earliest available photos to present day. Won't that be amazing? All of it, that history just coming full to you, and you see right before your eyes, through this app, the transformation of Kingston, or any place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So this is where we want to be. And virtual reality tourism, I want St. Vincent and the Grenadines to be one of the first digital destinations that persons anywhere around the world can come to digital St. Vincent without leaving the comfort of their gym in their house or wherever. That's the vision that we have. And I believe we can do it. And conferences like this is where these ideas begin to become incubated. So we have the right setup at the ministry, and we have the right leadership in myself and Senator King, and we have all of the critical institutions to make this happen. We have the full support of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, and we have you present here, all the critical entities to make this happen. So, let us commit to dream together, plan together, implement together, learn together, and iterate together. Because iteration is critical, because you might have an idea and you think it's the best thing, but reality proves you otherwise, and say, oh boy, I was wrong here. But you're able to take feedback and come back with an improved plan. Let us improve together, and as we work together, as I like to say, we win together. So let me wish you a very successful day, and in your deliberations, bring your honest, open ideas to the discussions, and I believe we will set the basis for a transformed St. Vincent and Grenadines that responds to the various technological needs of all of our citizens. Thank you, and God bless you, and have a successful conference.
Thank you very much, Minister Jackson, for those insightful connections. And indeed, there's a beautiful story in this room. And I believe that my favorite part of the story is that someone who has been integrally involved with technology on the ground now sits at the helm of a critical ministry as it relates to innovation and digital transformation, and certainly technology in teaching and learning. All right, so we're moving on nicely with the program. And speaking of program, there are some QR codes placed around the room, so feel free to make your way to any of the spots and scan the barcode, and you can follow the program digitally. Now, right, so we're continuing with the program, but we will take a short break for a photo moment, not even 2 minutes, Minister.
Yeah,
very short break.
Yes.
For a photo with the Minister. So, the photographer is on hand. And remember, you are not answering openly, so you can just make your note on the sheet. If you get all 10 answers right, then you get a free course from the NCTI. So that's question number 1. What does the NCTI stand for? Is it National Center for Technological Innovation? Is it National Center for Technology Innovation? Is it Nationwide Center for Technological Innovation? or is it National Company for Technological Innovation? So make note of your answer as we move on now with the ceremony. So coming to speak to us at this time is our speaker number 2, who has been an educator for over 3 decades. In fact, she was one of my educators at St. Vincent Girls High School, and I see Shelley in the audience. Shelley, she taught you too, right? All right, so she has a strong interest in students not just using technology, but using technology in the right way. And she also says that she hopes that people in our region would eventually become creators rather than consumers. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce to speak to us Mrs. Aldia Gums-Dyer, who is a Senior Education Officer in the Ministry of Education.
Thank you very much, Marla. Do you think she was trying to give away my age? Okay. I beg to adopt the protocol that was already established. A pleasant good morning to the head table, to the organizers, and to everyone else. You know, as I reflected on exactly what I should say today, I was thinking about what IT looks like in the classroom, because I was asked to speak about information technology in our schools and what are we looking for. So, from what I can remember, and I am frequently in the classroom, I was asking myself, is IT a notebook filled with just notes preparing for those examinations? Is it a single period in the lab, just once a week? Then I ask again, what is the difference between IT, information technology, in the classroom and information technology in the real world for students, at home and in the streets? I think that at home, technology is sort of instant, it is interactive, it is creative. But when we get to the classroom, too often, it feels sort of limited, disconnected from real life. Now, the range of ICT tools that's available today really leaves much to be, really allows for a lot to be done. We have coding platforms, robotic kits, there are artificial intelligence applications, data analytics, and we can go on. So, what we are looking for is really to have ICT and ICT integration in a meaningful way in our classrooms. Now, for those of you who are around my age, you will know that the Ministry of Education has long embraced a vision for ICT integration in a broad sense and in a more specific sense. For decades, we have traversed many pathways. I remember in the olden days, in the 1980s, when I started to work, and in the early 1990s, there was mass training for educators and civil servants. And we went with our notebooks to these IT labs, and we wrote down what is a mouse and how to use the computer, and step 1 and step 2 and all of that. And look how far we have come from that. This vision has evolved, certainly. Right now, we have been discussing, you would have heard from the minister, how can we really transform ICT? And our vision is to equip every citizen with the knowledge, skills, and attitude to learn, live, and produce in an ever-evolving technology-driven world. And we are hoping that at least by 2030, we can see some transformation. Now, what have we been doing so far? So far, we have been able to implement in the Ministry of Education an education management information system that is really useful to administrators. We have also been introducing and collaborating with other entities, the NCTI for sure, to introduce coding initiatives in our classrooms. We have from simple block-based programming in lower schools to advanced coding challenges in secondary institutions, of which many students have participated in. We are trying to equip our learners to think logically, solve problems, and build solutions. At this time too, teachers are being trained to incorporate Conver AI into their classrooms as a tool for lesson delivery and creative engagement. Now, these initiatives that have started, we really want to take them a little bit further. We know that all schools have access to broadband internet and Wi-Fi, but we are also hoping that this can be improved because we know that there are some challenges there. Our goal also is to establish smart classrooms at both primary and secondary levels. And when we talk about these smart classrooms, we want to change mindsets as to how these smart classrooms would function. It should not be just a digitized space where we have a smart board, a smart TV, and teachers demonstrating for students. Rather, we are looking for an environment that utilizes technology meaningfully to support teaching and learning and help the students to function in real-life situations. For instance, we know that a majority of our students have access to devices. Over the years, governments have provided, families have provided, institutions have provided. And yet, we would still have students preparing an essay by writing the first draft, handwritten, they submit it, they get it back. They have to write it all over again after they get the feedback, and sometimes even for a third time while their devices sit in their book bags or on the shelf. So we want to make the tools meaningful for students right there in the classroom. We want to have students, as they learn the coding, it is just not for examination purposes, but how can they use their coding and apply it to help to create solutions right in the classrooms. Every day, we struggle with literacy in our classroom, mathematics. We use the technology that is available to support us. We heard the minister spoke of master teachers. As we speak, we are also devising a plan where we can get this going so that we can serve more persons. So we have a vision, and we know that it cannot be done alone. We are grateful for the partnerships that we have had, and we look forward to continue to partner with others. Now we have everybody under one umbrella. I know that we will be collaborating even more. We have done quite a bit of training already of our teachers. We just want to take this further, and we want everybody to understand that IT is not just for the IT teachers. It's for everybody, and we can use it to advance education. So I want to congratulate the NCTI on putting on this conference, and to encourage everyone to participate fully, and to enjoy. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Dyer, for your remarks, for particularly outlining what's happening in the schools as it relates to technology in the teaching of learning, and also for outlining the ministry's vision as it relates to technology. All right, so we're continuing now, but before we move on to the next presentation, we have our second question, which is, which street is the NCTI located on? Which street? And I see that it's good to see that the students are so attentive. I hope that our online audience, too, they are attentive as well. So which street is the NCTI located on? Is it Sharp Street in Kingstown, St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Is it Heritage Square? Is it Bay Street? Or is it Halifax Street? And I trust the students know the streets and where they are. All right, so once again, which street is the NCTI located on? Is it Sharp Street, Heritage Square, Bay Street, or Halifax Street? All right, so we're moving on, and our next presenter has distinguished himself as an educator and a leader in technology. He's widely known for his pioneering work in STEM education in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and he now sits as the CEO of the NCTI. He's also the founder and director of STEM SVG Educational Institute. It's my pleasure to invite Mr. Petrus Gomes at this time.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. So I want to please adopt the protocol, but before we do that, I want to recognize in our presence as well, Ms. McLean, who is the principal for the Thomas Sanders Secondary School. Please welcome her. All right, so thank you again for taking the time out to be with us here this morning. Over the years, the NCTI has been a pillar in the community when it comes to IT, ICT, and training, certification, and testing. Now we are regaining our footing to continue that type of work. Good morning, Mr. John. Thank you for being here with us. I want to mention that Mr. John, when we had students who didn't have any computer to do their SBA, Mr. John mentioned, I have some of these, they're not the best, but they are available for you, and I want to thank you for that, please. The NCTI has a vital role to play. Now that we are all family, Ms. Dyer, don't abuse that privilege, please. To play in the development of IT, ICT, and training in St. Vincent and Grenadines. We have been working for the better part of last year. We have been collaborating extensively with a lot of organizations. We have worked with, as you heard Ms. Dyer, with the Ministry of Education, specifically curriculum, in the training of over 100 teachers in the use of AI and how to use AI in the classroom. Since then, we have been going out to the various schools, or we requested by the various schools to come and continue training with them. And this year, we are hoping to present to the ministry, well, to our ministry now, the continued training of teachers in ICT and information technology tools. We worked with the National Library to support our more mature audience. They explicitly said they do not like the word elderly. So the more mature audience in the use of their smart devices, the ATMs, especially the ATMs. Have you seen, or has anyone ever seen a more mature person, we call them more mature person, they're waiting patiently at the ATM until they see someone they think they can trust to help them with their PIN. Have you seen that? Right. And that is such a unique situation because we know what can happen if someone is being malicious. right? So we were able to work not only with the public library, but also with banking institutions and other institutions to start making them more comfortable with the technology at hand. As we progress, we bring in along everyone with us. The NTRC and KCCU has been instrumental in assisting us in getting us on our way as well. Right now, at this moment, give me 1 second, get the technology. At this moment, the NCTI can boast having one of the largest computer labs, fully equipped to the courtesy of the NTRC, with state-of-the-art computers available for large training. Also, not yet here, we coming here, Mr. Knight. Also, we were able to establish a well-equipped network room that can carry the load of all the training that we would like to get done this year at New Hemo. Before you hear me, please give me the NTRC a round of applause, please. So, Mr. Knight, we are brothers now, right? This lab is very instrumental to the work that we have moving forward. Because first on the agenda is the LEAF program. To the value of over 200,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars, we have the opportunity to train and work with aspiring and existing entrepreneurs. Being one myself, start trying things at a very young age. The only difference is that at some point I acquired the skill to learn how to do web design, to learn how to develop platform, to learn how to work with applications. But some of our local and community entrepreneurs do not have that skill, and it can become very costly. Costly enough that you might not be able to afford it, but if you do afford it, it can sink your little homegrown business. So what we are doing in this project is making available all those applications so that you can learn. We're going to train you in them, we're going to certify you in them, and we're going to make sure, see how you implement them in your existing small business. We open it as well to school business club, and especially to youths at risk. What that means? We are aware that schools now have small programs running, whether it's small farming. I think I see girls that have a little backyard farm, the Bishop College and the Grammar School, all, and even the St. Martin Secondary School now have small programs such as that running. But sometimes what we fail to realize is that there is a business side of that. My father, who is a farmer, failed to realize that. He just wants to raise the cattle and sell it when it becomes big and the money coming in. It used to frustrate me. Because I believe somewhere along the line, that cattle did not make a profit. Because I didn't charge him for carrying water for it every afternoon. I didn't charge him for the amount of time I slip and get bruised. All of that didn't factor into his cost. He just happy, he get the cattle sell, it come in, and to me, it did not make no sense. So we want to make it a little bit better for you young entrepreneurs and project program developers, where we're going to teach you. Have you taught the slangs? Have you taught the jargons, income, expenses, and have you see how they work in industry standard application? So we will be welcoming a lot of secondary schools. If you have a business club, if you have your little program, we want to teach you that. So Ms. McLean and the other principal will get your business club ready. During this program, we'll be doing it year long, and we have a cadre of training that's going to be happening during the course of the day, all scheduled out, and we'll be sharing with you. So I know the Marion House is here as a representative, as well I hope the Liberty Lodge is here. We want you to look at that schedule of training and say that for our participants, this will be worthwhile for our young participants because we want to encourage them to continue on the path of academic development, but we still want them to get some industry training which will be beneficial to them. These training, once completed, will be accredited certificate will be given to the students. These are certification that is not only recognized locally, but regionally as well. The NCTI is an accredited organization and is recognized throughout the region. So what happens, unlike when myself and even Miss Daya and others, when we leave secondary school, the only thing that is on our resume is our hobbies. These students can have on the resume Introduction to QuickBooks as a certificate. Yes, miss, Introduction to QuickBooks. Introduction to invoicing application, introduction to accounting application, certification in Microsoft tools. They could have that on their resume. And we have to start talking on that level if we are supposed to be developing students for the next generation to come. We are seeking partnership as the NCTI. We are making partnership with an organization called ODU, which is also pending. And this is supposed to be coming online pretty soon. Most of you might not be familiar with ODU. Anybody familiar with ODU? Oh God, well you're full IT courses, so then you should be familiar. I wouldn't expect any different. This application gives a cheaper version but the same capability of the proprietary software. This is an open source application. So QuickBooks, for example, that is pretty expensive for small business to run. We give you a version in Odoo that does the same thing. We train you, we certify you, we support you. We're not training and leave you out there. We support you and make sure that your business is able to continue even after the training. So we be in your support here. We want and we will be partnering with organizations such as CED to conduct entrepreneur and financial management workshop. Audience, you will understand, and we should understand, and I think personal understanding here, that all the money the business make is not yours. A lot of persons does not understand that concept. They didn't realize they get paid from their own business. They think, okay, the business make $1,000, I have $1,000. That is not the case. And this is the kind of training that we will be partnering organizations such as CED and financial consultants to get the mind frame right so that persons can understand how their little small operation should work. Understanding your device. You know the funniest thing that happened to me recently? I damaged my phone by overcharging, whatever, it was damaged. So I reached out to one of our provider here for one of their phone. And I say, you know, let me go for a proper phone. Because everybody say a Samsung, this is not a proper phone. So I'm going for a proper phone, so I call. So I call a colleague who is a friend, and then I asked her, what is the cost for that phone? I need that phone. She said, oh, thank you for calling me. I'm glad when people like you call. That phone is $5,000. So I hang up. No, don't laugh, I hang up. And I call her back because she's my friend. I say, apologize, the internet dropped this. $5,000 for a phone like that. Much as to say, I wasn't going that. I want a phone, but I didn't want that. Because when I think about that, from a business perspective and those, that is a huge investment. And that phone better do more than taking pictures for me. And a lot of people don't understand that the little Toyota Corolla that we Silky used to sell, that you carry around in your hand, because that is the cost of one of them now, is a miniature computer that could actually run your business from head to toe. But we have them making TikTok, posting snaps, and updating our status, and that is about it. What we are hoping to do is to show young and even existing entrepreneurs how to integrate these devices so that you can work on the go. And I'm sure Mr. Knights will agree with me. Sometimes he is sitting at home and he typing a letter to send to his secretary. They are on the road, but they could pull over and check their cameras and see what is going on. That is the level at which we want to bring young existing entrepreneurs as well as students to start using these devices. We will have a community drive to this project where we'll be working around closely with adult and continuing education to reach out in various communities to meet with the persons and individuals that have local and small businesses such as, and I want to mention this, shops. It was brought to my attention without even thinking it by the Minister, Honorable Mr. Jackson. As we advance, I don't know if it's happening, but think about it. You realize because we're getting into the ATM card and the debit card, you realize you don't go shop anymore? Because sometimes we don't carry the cash, and shop is cash flow. So we quicker go to the Massey where we could swipe the card, the Graves, but then the local community shops are falling behind. And they are integral for the development of our community. So we will be reaching out to organizations such as these, our bead persons, our braiding persons, to start using and get familiar with these technologies. So we're hoping this is supposed to be launched by the end of the month. So please stay with our Facebook page as we continue. Then come our robotics competition, and I want to thank Mr. Irony Evans for the tremendous support and all the other businesses in here with us today for making last year's program a success. Please give Mr. Irony Evans. Last year, we had 15 schools with little bit over 90 students. This year, we have 22 schools and some still coming. I'm inviting Thomas Sanders because I'm coming to that. 22 schools, 37 teams, and almost 100 students in this year competition already. So the task is huge. You would have heard Ms. Dyer speak about the integration of coding and technology in the schools. And we are for that. Not only as an institution, but personally, I am for that. You will not believe, as we are doing and meeting with the schools, working with the students, some of our students are fearful of making mistakes and shy away from these challenges. And looking at the audience, everyone in here should know what is a WD-40. Let me see how those who don't know. Don't be shy. We're going to explain it. Don't be shy. Everybody knows WD-40. Okay, good. Does it? Yes, Miss Dad, I just want to spray. Yes. Does anyone know what the 40 stands for? Oh, yes, Miss. What it stands for? Is the 40th attempt they came at the correct solution. So if they had stopped at attempt 20, women get WD-40. Those squeak, WD-40. A little rat spot, WD-40. Well, my old man, his knee hurt him, WD-40. So WD-40, and I keep telling to our students, you have to continue even though when you think you fail. And this is something, a concept that is difficult for our students to understand. They don't know how to embrace or work with failure. It's difficult for them to recover when they make a mistake, for them to continue. And that is one of the biggest hurdles I have encountered as a teacher and now as the administrator and CEO of NCTI, working with students now across the country. We have a competitive environment, and every time a student make a mistake and I had to correct it, one of the students jump up, "Oh, you're stupid, you're stupid." No. And we as a community have to work on that, because it comes from home too. Because if every stupid idea was not pushed forward, you today would not have had a buttonless phone. Anybody understand the genesis of that? Steve Jobs mentioned that he's going to make a phone without any buttons. At that time, BlackBerry was the goal. And everybody tells Steve Jobs that was a dumb idea and it was impossible. Now today, every phone is buttonless. WhatsApp was also a stupid idea. Being able to communicate with the person regardless of the number, geographical location, it's sold for some billions of dollars. So when it comes to stupid ideas in the IT forum, you don't disregard them. IT is so different. We need to encourage, and this is where we are getting a lot of when students hear about coding, when even teachers don't hear about coding, they automatically think it's difficult. What we don't realize is that not only one person coding a particular item. It's a team. You might have one person who's good in maths, one person good in English, one person just good at just coming up with novelty ideas, and they come together and make it happen. Facebook is not one person who built it. He took a team and went in a secluded area and he built it. So a lot of our students shy away, and we realize that. So we are holding their hand and teaching them how to actually code. I take a personal interest in this. And the competition is a byproduct, because that is what our Vincentian community is. This program was really collaborated with, and I want to mention Miss Juanita King initially last year. Please, the head of science department in curriculum, please stand so everybody can see. And now we are now supported with Miss Betty Austin from the curriculum, who have a unique interest in information technology as well. We cannot do this, or I should not be doing this on my own. It's a Herculean task. And I need the support of all the parties involved. And I want to also, even they are not here, the various schools for bringing their team on board. Even those that call and say, our students are scared. They don't know what to do, or they don't want to get into this. I say, it's all right. I will be coming personally, and I'll be showing that there's nothing to be scared about. So one of the ministry, and you heard Ms. Dyer mention it, goal is to implement this. Not just the coding, but the idea of problem solving, the idea of logical thinking, and the idea of creativity across all schools, including primary and secondary. In the application that the students are using, they literally have to work with each other to decide how this robotic unit, using the codes, get where it needs to be. And you see the drama that erupts when students can't get confused with the left hand and the right hand, because that is the logic they need to understand on how to turn the device in the direction it should go. So we are hoping this year for another successful robotic program, as well with your support as we move forward. Last year, we had the opportunity, or we still have the opportunity, to bring or introduce fiber optics training here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is in collaboration with the NTRC. The NTRC director, if you read his bio, is very versed in the area of telecommunication. And one of the things that you would have noticed, I don't know if you happen to notice from time to time, as you pass in on the main road, there is some vehicle standing or parked by some of those blue structures they see by the side of the road, and a guy behind you with an umbrella, and he seems to be welding. Those are fiber optics technicians. Now, I'm a little bit more fronted, so I pull over, and I asked what he's doing, and he was glad to explain, and I asked where he is from. Majority of the time, they are not from St. Vincent. So there is a shortage of this skill here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And not only to mention that, we are looking to bring that here to St. Vincent through the NTRC in a collaborative effort for our young and aspiration technician. We want to also work with the TechVoc in getting this involved. This became evident during Hurricane Beryl, where one time all our technicians went to the Grenadines to help with the recovery, and then the internet up here breaking down. So they come back up, and then the internet only breaking down. So we could not get a good balance to get the work done and for everybody to work comfortably. So we are hoping to launch this program in the upcoming, as soon as possible, once we get the little, bureaucracies out of the way, so that persons can be involved in such training. TechVoc, and we are hoping to work closely with the TechVoc so that students could get internationally recognized certificate. The certificate that you'll be looking for is one called ETA. This one, once they receive it, they can work anywhere in the world. And we're hoping to have this here with support of other technicians locally and regionally coming to execute this training. Staff, students, guests, what we are looking to do here is to become that organization that integrate well with all other organizations to push training, to support development, and bring new courses to the shore of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that benefit our countrymen. Today, students have outpaced the teachers. They have Netflix to watch, so they ain't gonna sit down and write that SBA for you. They ain't gonna sit down and write that paragraph for you. You're not gonna do that. The reason why I'm saying this, I wanna leave this with you. Last year, we had, let me see how many of those who know ChatGPT. Of course. There's another one behind that is known as Gemini. Anybody familiar with that one? Not so many. Okay, good. And I'm glad the students are here. Last year, we had the privilege of having a person employed with us. And although we trained them, part of their training was to take notes in the board meeting and so forth. But they weren't quite getting it. And I was getting the heat from my directors that, the errors and so forth and everything like that. So what we did, we decided to integrate Gemini into our process. And what that does, I see some crinkling face, what that does is that all the directors log into their phone, turn on their phone during the meeting, and Gemini records everything, word for word, even understanding the language, our colloquial dialect. On 2 occasions, I told the young lady, oh, I don't need you right now. I don't need you at this time. Now, she was happy to not do the work because she's still getting paid. But she didn't realize what is hitting her sideways. What is it? She's going to be what? Unemployed. So it is very important that our students have a good grasp of the technologies that are there to come, and how to manipulate and work with them. And later on, you will see what I mean in the demonstration of an application that was built here locally. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones, for that overview of some of the notable initiatives currently being undertaken by the NCTI, certainly showcasing the impactful work that's driving skills development in our country. Now, we're continuing with the program. We are preparing for a video presentation from our next guest. However, before we proceed to that, we have 3 true and false questions. All right, students, let's go. So, true or false? The NCTI offers summer courses. The NCTI offers summer courses. Is that true or is it false? Okay, the second one. The NCTI does not collaborate with other institutions to execute training programs. Is that true or false? Does the NCTI collaborate with other institutions to execute training programs? Yes or no? True or false? And finally, for now, the annual NCTI conference focuses only on students and does not involve industry professionals or partners. Again, the annual NCTI conference, which is what we're hosting right now, focuses only on students and does not involve industry professionals or partners. All right, true or false? So at this time, I ask you to turn your attention to the big screen as we hear from Ms. Abibat Asefa, who is the counselor for
and the NCTI and NTRC on launching another successful initiative. It's quite a daunting task with the amount of training, the amount of activities that I see you have planned there. But I have no doubt that you and the team will be able to pull it off. KCCU is proud to be behind you once again. So I'll just take a few moments to speak to how KCCU's involvement in initiatives like this pays dividends to the country from Union Island to Fancy. Right, so I know some persons have the notion that the credit union is an old people thing. It's something where your parents say, go pay this book, go put some money aside. While it is very important, there is a main differentiating factor between the credit unions and the banks. It is not what we do, because we all offer the same products and services, loans, savings, etc. But it's who we do it for. And things like this is a perfect demonstration that we do it for you, we do it for the students, and we do it for the local country man and woman. It's a financial cooperative. So at KCCU, once you're part of the KCCU family, you own part of the organization. The benefits flow directly back to our members and the community outright. An initiative like this, while we put the financial sponsorship behind these initiatives, this is just one of many. There are a wide range of initiatives that we sponsor, a wide range of donations that we make. But at the end of the day, we are not a charity. Your decision in where you bank, where you find your loans, where you save your money, is an indication of where we grow. At KCCU, the analogy is once you grow with us, all of the fruits come back to you. The other institutions, their fruits may flow to another country. Their profits may flow outwards. But with the credit union, and I see some of my brothers and sisters in here, all of the benefits flow back to you, flow back to the students, flow back to the community, and sponsor initiatives such as this. Why does the ownership matter? Because you have a say in the direction of the organization. You, no matter the dollar value that you have in your account, you have a vote at our meetings, and this is a major differentiating factor. The smallest saver has the same voice as the largest depositor. So I know some persons often think of the folks with the money call all the shots, or they are able to achieve X, Y, and Z. But that is not so at the credit union. We offer all of the same products and services, but we have you in mind. Some of the benefits that flow. We teach the power of thrifts in schools. Teaching students to save at an early age is something that is very important. Scholarships, bursaries, sponsorship of activities such as this. This is where the benefits flow when you choose to do business with a credit union and not with international financial institutions that may not have your interests. These are just some other benefits I just have included here. But I just want to tap on to Gum's story of working on his father's farm and getting water for the cattle. Now, from where I sit, we have to do some serious work about financial literacy in this country. The data shows that we are ranking last when it comes to financial literacy. The story of the working on the farm is one that brought back a memory of a special case where there was a father who had a small farm and he used that to send his children to school. Quite like Mr. Holmes, although he said he followed. It's part of the process. But in his latter years, he came upon some hard times because naturally you don't have the strength to maybe do the farming that you were doing before. And he had quite a bit of land, so it was suggested to him, maybe sell some of the lands, you'll be able to live a comfortable life. And he was like, no, that's for my children. And I know a lot of parents here in the room, you save for your children, you may have accumulated some assets and you putting it aside for your children. 2 months after he passed, his son sold all of that and bought 2 minivans. And I know the young people in here would know all the additional, you have to put in rims, you have to put in the music and all of that. And to cut the long story short, it lasted about 3 years. So I just want you to think about things like this. All you save for your children, you build things for them, it is important to speak to them about money management. If you have a small business, record keeping, because sometimes you have a business, you have a side business, you don't think about all of the expenses that will come up. If you have a minivan, you don't think about insurance, you don't think about tires, you don't think about the maintenance costs of these things. And sometimes parents would have gone through these things, but we have to pass on this information to the younger folks. Because as you accumulate your wealth, you make their life very easy. I sure Gums don't have a cattle now. Far down. But so things like this is what I want us to put some thought behind when we come to building wealth when we come to our business, when we come to building things like our websites. Because no doubt, these persons are going into the working world, building things, creating a life that is much better than the previous generation. But in order to continue that trend, we have to be able to pass on the good knowledge. And again, we are happy to be behind the NTRC and the NCTI on initiatives like this, because it is imperative that we train our students and continue the legacy of excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ioni Evans, the CEO of KCCU, and we thank KCCU and all of the other establishments of corporate SVG that continue to drive the momentum as it relates to technology and certainly national development. We are continuing now, and before we move to the next item, we have another question. So this one is question number 5, which is, what is the primary mission of the NCTI? What is the primary mission of the NCTI? Is it to provide only basic computer classes, or is it to promote technological innovation and digital skills development in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Another option is it to sell computer equipment, or is it to operate as a secondary school? Once again, what is the primary mission of the NCTI? To provide only basic computer skills, to promote technological innovation and digital skills development in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to sell computer equipment, or to operate as a secondary school. So we're continuing now, and our next presenter, I need to get the information. Right, so our next presenter is currently the Education and Stakeholder Outreach Coordinator for Eco Youth Ventures in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is a regional project that was recently launched here to empower youth in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as a few other islands in the Caribbean, St. Kitts Nevis and St. Lucia, through STEM education and sustainable tourism practices. So at this time, let's welcome Miss Kemisha Bailey.
Good morning, everyone. How are you feeling this morning? Good? Yeah? Very quiet, but I think I'll take that as you're feeling good. I am going to adopt the protocol already established and just say how honored I am to be here this morning. First, I would like to let Mr. Gums and the NCTI team know how truly impressed I am by all of the work that you are doing. I did not recognize it was so much. I want to sign up for a course right now, but we'll talk later. I'm really impressed at the work, and I'm happy to see that you are now a part of the Ministry of Education. And I see great things happening with that new family. As you told Ms. Diane not to take advantage, but I hope she does, because I can see the benefits there. I would just like to echo the sentiments expressed this morning as well of the Minister of Education, Mr. Philip Jackson. He did mention the importance of deploying resources where they are needed. And he mentioned sometimes that we have idle capacity that could be better utilized where persons can help small businesses go out into the schools. All these things are very important and timely. Particularly impressed as well by the move towards master teaching and making use of those teachers who are experts, recognized locally, regionally for their work, and having students who would normally have access to them, get that access through programs such as master teaching. I am here this morning to share a little bit about a new project that was recently launched in St. Vincent and the Grenadines called Echo Youth Ventures. So as you know, one of the challenges we have in the Caribbean is that our small islands are easily affected by climate change. You know, we all experienced Hurricane Beryl last year. We know what that means for our tourism sector. We know how these things can affect our country, our productivity, and our economy. And it is important that we adapt as needed to make sure that the students in our schools and the teachers can help to better respond to these challenges. We do also recognize, and we've heard a lot about, you know, food and reducing our dependence on imports and working towards being more sustainable in that regard. And that is also something that we shouldn't just preach, but practice, and we need to ensure that our education system can also adapt to changes like this. And with that context in mind, this project is here to try and address and answer some of those challenges. So we do recognize the importance of STEM education in closing the skills gap. We know that sometimes when students finish school and they go into the workplace, we are sometimes concerned that they arrive and they are not too sure how to function. And that is why I was again very impressed by the NCTI and these courses that they are offering, because those definitely would help to complement and supplement what is being taught at schools. It is also important that we drive a message of sustainability in our schools. When I was in school, that was not a buzzword, but now more than ever, sustainability, resilience, climate resilience, sustainable development are buzzwords that students need to become familiar with. So the Echo Youth Ventures project, with funding from Taiwan and being executed by the Pan American Development Foundation, has decided to launch this program that has two parts. One, it is important first that you focus on our educators. We don't want to start a project where you go into the schools, you have the students, but the teachers are not prepared or equipped. So the first part of the project is ensuring that the teachers have the resources necessary to be able to guide and instruct the students. This means that our teachers here would receive support, they will receive a curriculum, they will receive the resources to be able to carry out this project. And the second part of it touches our students. Once this new curriculum is properly implemented into the schools, we hope to see innovation challenges where students will be solving real-world problems affecting tourism and sustainability. We hope that with this project, we reduce the mismatch of skills, we eventually help to boost productivity through these solutions that the students would bring to us. We want to support economic diversification because part of problem solving helps to create new sectors and new ways to do things. We want to be able to retain the talent here locally. A lot of our students sometimes come back and they don't find a place where they fit in, and we want to be able to create these avenues where when persons return from studying, or even if they didn't leave and they did an online course or whatever it is, they feel that there is space for them and that they could actively contribute to society. And most importantly, we want to be able to build climate resilience. That said, and as was mentioned earlier by our host, this project is touching the three saints, as we say, when we refer to the project. It's not just in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it's also in St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Lucia. We are targeting students from the age 14, 15, 16, and that would be our third and fourth formers mainly. We would reach these students through about 25 to 30 educators on each island. And through working with those teachers and the students who they directly work with in class, we hope to reach about 1,500 students across the Caribbean. We have a list of some of the participating schools that have been identified, and I will just take the opportunity to thank Mrs. Paulette Harvey Primus in the Ministry of Education, the Senior Education Officer for TVET, for her support so far and the work that she's been doing in the project. And the schools are on the screen. So for the students in the room, raise your hand if your school is on that list. Please tell me one of you, aye. No? Oh boy. Let's go through the list. So we have Percy Secondary School. Anybody here? Thank you. You see, round of applause to the gentleman who made me feel less awkward because I was worried. Right, so we have Percy Secondary School, St. Vincent Girls High School, Canawan Secondary School, St. Martin Secondary, Buckamet Bay Secondary, St. Vincent Grammar School, Georgetown Secondary, Union Island Secondary School, North Union Secondary School, Bishop's College, Kingston, and the Charles Adams Anglican High School in Beckwith. Now, as I said, it's a pilot program, so all of the secondary schools are not included at this stage, but once we successfully implement the program, it would then be extended to the other secondary schools. So just to give you an idea of what is to come over the next 2 years in this project, we hope to start training and doing some work with the teachers before the beginning of the next school year. So by September, our teachers will be ready and have this curriculum well adapted in all of their lesson plans. We also plan to work directly with the teachers and the students, visit the classrooms and give the support where needed. And the most exciting part of it for me is the Ecotourism Grand Challenge. And let me just give you a little bit about that. The idea is, just like we have national science fairs, we hope to host a national STEM fair related to sustainability and tourism, where the students from these secondary schools would present their projects and solutions to problems affecting us locally. Now, the students who are selected would then represent St. Vincent and the Grenadines in St. Lucia and present their projects there, and they would also be accompanied by their teachers. So that is something to look forward to. As we impact the project, we also are looking for support from mentors, and I hope Mr. Anonymous from Webley, if I find him before the end of the morning, is somebody who would definitely like to work with and get his support on for this project. And other persons, obviously, in the tourism industry, as the project does speak to tourism, and we would need support of persons in STEM to help the students develop solutions. So if you're interested in becoming a mentor, feel free to let me know. And those are some of the things that we have there that will be going on from, well, started January last month up until next August 2027. So just to give you an overview of what the curriculum looks like. So we have 6 units, and each unit has 4 lessons. And let me just go through them. So the Unit 1 is Climate Change and Coastal Resilience. Unit 2, Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. Unit 3, Sustainable Waste Management and Circular Economy. Unit 4, Sustainable Agriculture and Food Security. Unit 5, The Blue Economy and Marine Conservation. And Unit 6, Sustainable Tourism. I will pause here to say that what we hope for our students is that this curriculum and this project is as hands-on as possible. So I'm happy to see when Mr. Gomes mentioned how we could use AI in the classroom. I was really excited about the demonstration from Webley because things like that are what students would use to help present their projects and help present solutions to problems. I am particularly excited about units on sustainable agriculture and food security and even sustainable tourism and what it means for our students. We want to take them out of the classroom. We want to take them to experiences that are truly farm to table, places like Bush Bar, Amazon and Nest. When we talk about recycling, we want them to visit and take a field trip to where Thirsty Water and All Islands Recycling do their work, so they can actually see how these things work and not just be in the classroom and seeing these things online, but to be as hands-on and as possible. And that is why it is important to have the support of the private sector. So if you're hearing me and if you're part of any institution, and no pressure to KCCU, who is right here, but we will be calling on as much persons as possible to ensure that the students have a truly enriching experience in this project. So just an overview of the timeline. As I said, the project was launched. In the other countries, it was launched in November, but we launched in January. Right now, we are the period of reviewing the curriculum is ongoing. Next up, we would be identifying the teachers in the different schools who will be trained during the months of July and August. We hope to have the project launched by September in all of the schools, and then have a period where we go into the classrooms and support the teachers. Then we launch the challenge, the students work on their projects. And by May next year, we hope that the students would be able to have a national fair where they present their ideas. And then in August of next year, all of that would wrap up, June, July next year, in the Grand Challenge in St. Lucia. And this is just some of the members of the team that we have there. So I would just like to take this opportunity, again, to highlight the need for the support of the private sector in this initiative, and just to mention that the ministries that are obviously on board with this project, outside of the Ministry of Education, we have support from the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation and Sustainable Development, and we also have the support of the Ministry of Fisheries, Marine and Land Conservation, and Climate Resilience. It is important to have their feedback because, as you saw, the 6 units do touch on their ministries, and all the ministers have already committed, their efforts to seeing the project through, and committing the resources of the ministry to ensure that the students have the most enriching experience possible. Again, I'm going to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Gomes and his team for hosting this event. Some of the things that you mentioned today connect directly with the project. I'm very excited to see how we can connect STEM education, sustainability, and tourism for our students, so that a country like ours that is heavily dependent on tourism can look to our students for solutions of the problems that we face. Thank you very much for your attention, and continue to have a good day.
Kamisha Bailey, coordinator of the Eco Youth Ventures project here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, giving us the ins and outs of the project, and we do look forward to hearing about the achievements as the project unfolds. We're moving on now to the next presentation, and this one will be by someone who has spent over 2 decades working in the areas of telecommunications development, regulation, and policy. He currently serves as the director of the NTRC, that's the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, which he has a role he has had since 2002. It's my pleasure now to talk to us a little bit about education and training. It's my pleasure now to talk to us a little bit about education and training skills for the 21st century, with particular focus on innovation and competitiveness. Apollo Knights.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for those who are still here. And we shall maybe remain here until we finish. Last week, Mr. Gomes had called me, asked me to say a few words at this session. I asked him what team he wanted me to speak on. So he gave me a team. and I did some work on it up until Sunday evening. And something told me, let me go back to last year. I spoke last year as well to find out what I spoke on last year. And I saw the theme was very similar. So I said that was not good. I need to bring something different this year. So I scrapped that work, thought about what to speak upon, and came up with what you see on the screen, which is totally different, but very relevant. What I did, I did a presentation in 2023 on behalf of a regional organization, I won't call the name, and that was the topic at the time. And I also think it's very important at this time, especially as the minister mentioned earlier, Minister Jackson, he responsible now for education, vocational training, innovation, as well as information. Back when I did this presentation, there were different ministers with those portfolios. But what I did back then had everything together, right? So also Mr. Gomes had indicated he needed a 15-minute presentation. Well, this morning when I scanned the code, I see 5 minutes, so please don't think it's my fault, right? And bear with me, but I think you'll get a little value from what I'm going to go through this morning. I reduced it a bit from what I did back then, and I updated it a bit. So as 2023, I make sure it was very relevant to know. Some of the data is very new. Right, so the theme is on that with a perspective of innovation and competitiveness. So that focus I'm going to bring to it. Just going to go through a little context of the presentation. No. It's a PowerPoint, another PowerPoint. So I only have 2 PowerPoint slides. You'll see this one for the whole presentation, and when we finish, we'll get the last one. The last one has something special in it, but between that one, we're just gonna go from the notes here. Okay? Right. So we're speaking on the theme from this morning event from the perspective of innovation and competitiveness. So let's all get on the same page on the meaning of innovation. I got this from Meta AI. Innovation is the process of introducing new or improved ideas, products, services, or processes. It's about bringing something new to the table, whether it's a game changer or a small tweak that makes a big difference. And on competitiveness can be defined as the ability of a business to deliver better value to customers than competitors. That's from the Oxford Languages. So I would like to use the definition of competitiveness in this context, even though I will also be speaking about competitiveness of individuals, so not just businesses, of individuals as well. I'll be looking at the theme from the angle of how education and training skills can allow for innovation and competitiveness both at the personal and business level, with the specific twist that such education and training on their own are not sufficient to be innovative and competitive, and thereby successful. There are 2 other pieces that I will at this time call the X and Y factors of the puzzle that need to be addressed as well. Also, I wish to point out that to stay competitive, one must be innovative, either as an individual or as a business. If you don't innovate, you'll find yourself in a position where someone else or another business is offering its customers better value for the same money. Money always flows in the direction of better value. It's the reason some people lose their jobs when companies downsize and why some companies go out of business. As with all forms of education and skills development, we must approach it from a perspective of what we are trying to achieve as a person, as a family, and as a country by obtaining that education or skill set. It can't be for the purpose of putting the certificates on the wall and watching them each day. Watching certificates on the wall all day will neither help you, your loved ones, nor your country, which is our country. Unless you exchange the knowledge and skills gained for financial remuneration, that is to say money, via a process that someone values and who is willing to part his or her money, you will starve as a person and as a country. And the movement of money, or its amassment, is what we call the economy. And the movement, we got it already. So in a nutshell, all that we'll be talking about this morning relates in some way to the economy, money and people, and particularly the new economy. That's where we are currently. So unless you live by yourself in the wilderness and grow and produce all that you need, you relate to these three areas almost each day of your life. You'll meet other people, you'll either spend or incur expenses or receive money each day. In short, you play a part in the economy, be it local, regionally, or internationally. Accordingly, there will be no need for education and skills development if businesses did not exist. So what all Mr. Gums is doing, we won't need all this stuff unless businesses exist. So business is a critical aspect of my presentation as the reason the NCTI exists. And I believe all of us will concur that businesses play a major role in ensuring a thriving economy. This leads to my second point of the presentation, which is the relationship of education and skills training, what we're about here mostly, with that of business and by default, the economy. Education and skills alone will give knowledge. Knowledge does not equate on its own with what I term sustainable success, or drives innovation and competitiveness. Getting knowledge is only acquiring what other people already know. To get value from that, you need to add value to that knowledge that someone else is willing to pay you for instead of paying someone else with the same knowledge. That's what competitiveness is all about, and what one would call a competitive advantage, either as an individual or as a business. This is equally applicable, as I said, to both business and as an individual. However, it seems our schools in the Caribbean, in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and many other developing countries are mainly targeting the development of knowledge and skills. And that's why we're not developing or succeeding at the rate we want. And as the Minister Jackson outlined all this morning as well, he wants to change that. So it's all on the same focus here. So this brings me to the X factor, which is wisdom. Wisdom and knowledge are not the same thing, even though a lot of persons use them interchangeably at times. Definition of knowledge from the Oxford Dictionary is a theoretical or practical understanding of a subject, language, etc. And the definition of wisdom from the said dictionary is experience and knowledge together with the power of applying them critically or practically. In short, one can say wisdom is the proper application of knowledge experience. As we clearly see from the definition of wisdom, it also requires a power. These, ladies and gentlemen, lead us to the third factor, which is the Y factor. These three pieces are what is required for sustainable success for anyone, any business. That allows for innovation, that feeds competitiveness as an individual and as a business on a whole. This Y factor is what we need to focus on more on both the local and regional level. And I'll come back to it shortly. We'll now spend some time on the first piece of the puzzle. And it's a very important piece, but not the only piece, as most people think it is. Under the current Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, CARDTP, which Minister also mentioned earlier about, which is currently being executed by our governments, not just in St. Vincent, but OECS countries, and being done via funding from the World Bank. Consultants will have completed a market assessment and recommendation on key digital skills and soft skills currently in demand in the IT sector. They did this back in 2023. So we did an assessment of what skills needed, both soft skills and digital skills. So I'll mention some of these which are important, very important, as they are part of the puzzle, but that do not complete the puzzle. 99% of the report focused on the digital skills needed. Only about 1% focus on the soft skills, which relates to the Y factor I mentioned about. As I mentioned previously, knowledge and skills development alone will not make our citizens, and by extension our businesses, more innovative and competitive. If we want to grow our businesses and by default grow our economies, we cannot focus only on the development of knowledge and skills. We must also focus on the two other pieces of the puzzle. Most respondents to the consultant's assessment were looking for technical skills relating to digital marketing, programming, and cybersecurity skills. However, the most important soft skill mentioned was communication. more specifically the ability to bridge the communication gap between programming and business, to be able to convey business needs to programmers. And as Mr. Gomes mentioned earlier, the programmers don't like to be in the front. So you have to get that bridge between them, which he did, right? So, a gap between programming and business is to be able to convey business needs to programmers. Other soft skills mentioned were teamwork, collaboration, creative thinking, emotional intelligence, etc. It should be noted there was no mention of AI at that time, in 2023, in the consultant's report, did all assessments, there was no mention of AI. But we have seen how fast that has changed in the last 3 years. AI is now a big piece of the puzzle. So these give us some idea of what is currently in demand. Of course, students have an idea what they want to get into in terms of skills development. It's also very applicable to existing individuals who may need to look for new skills as their current skills become redundant due to technological development, especially via AI. Goldman Sachs currently predicts that up to 300 million jobs could be affected or replaced by AI by 2030. That's just 4 years from now. And some of those will be in St. Vincent and Grenadines. So as individuals and business leaders, we have the responsibility to equip and re-equip ourselves and our employees with the critical skills needed if we are to continue to compete in this evolving new economy. And educational institutions such as the NCTI must closely be in sync with what the market needs now and will need in a few years' time. And I must commend the NCTI for recognizing the need for soft skills, paid digital skills, as can be seen with the New Robotics Initiative launched in 2025 within our secondary schools, which blends the technical skills with soft skills, such as teamwork and creativity. Learning must be a continuous thing we do, just like how we feed ourselves food every day. We must learn new things on a continuous basis in this 21st century. And I give a quote from Alvin Toffler, quote, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn," unquote. Every one of us is in business. So even as individuals, we are like a business, and should act like a business professional. To go with the above, and considering the limited time we are working with, I'm a big believer in blending formal education programs with certified cutting-edge short courses, such as 1 and 6 months duration, such as what you will find on education platforms such as Coursera, which the DTP project is also currently subsidizing through the NCTI, free of charge to our citizens, as well as courses offered by UE Global Campus and to some extent our SVG Community College. Coursera Global Skills Report for 2025, which pulls data from 100 plus countries and the 170 million registered learner base, has 6 key findings in the executive summary, and I'm just going to list them with you. 1, generative AI adoption fuels global skills demands. 2, cybersecurity enrollments are rising rapidly, but still lag demand. 3, micro-credentials improve learner employability, signaling key skills to employers. 4, generative AI skill gaps persist despite women's rising participation in online learning. 5, skill gaps threaten global competitiveness, prompting employers to invest in upskilling. 2/3 of employers regard skill shortages as a major barrier to business growth. And as an example, in Germany, unfilled vacancies cost an estimated $339 million in the economy, which equates to 1.3% of their GDP. And finally, 6, skills force learn and transform talent pipelines, driving skills-based organizations. And now move on to the last missing piece of the puzzle, which is the Y factor and the soft skills I mentioned. I'm going to go more detail in it. And the one that until we address it on a personal, national, and regional level, we will not innovate and compete as we should to enable us to create a new economy. that is resilient, inclusive, and sustainable. It provides the nice attributes we see in the core culture values of businesses. For example, integrity, honesty, accountability, innovative, service mindset, ambition, trust, growth mindset, long-term thinking, etc. That's where you get those from, the soft skills. But it's not seen as a substantive subject area after that CSEC. Okay, for university, to the best of my knowledge. For my research, the closest subject that covers the area will be social studies, I think, which is normally an optional subject in our secondary curriculum. We have maths, English, and sometimes a foreign language as mandatory requirements. We must add soft skills to this mandatory mix. My biggest challenge managing the NTRC for the last 2 decades is not getting people to write hard skills. That was not my hardest part. It's getting them to write soft skills. That's the hardest stress I experienced managing them. These attributes contribute heavily to wise decisions and the building of sustainable businesses that can compete and innovate. They are hard to measure, will not be found in the audited financial statements, but can be sensed by your peers and your customers. So how are these attributes developed and why are they hard to measure via tests, etc.? The reason for this is that they are spiritual in nature. Some people are born gifted with them, others can develop them over time. So back to the definition of wisdom or X factor, that references the power needed to make the right decisions. This power is of a spiritual nature. These core values that we look for in employees are spiritual. Any successful business needs employees with it. You can train staff with all the digital and physical skill sets, but without the soft skills, which come from the spiritual attributes within people, they will not succeed over time. Some of you right now might be thinking, I don't agree, Robertson Knight is saying. That's okay. You might be saying, show me some proof or some evidence of this. So let's try this for some food of thought. There are a group of persons in the USA that punch above their weight in the business arena, a group of them. They make up only 2.3% of the US population, which everything being equal, they should have around 9 persons on the Forbes 400 list. This list ranks the 400 richest persons in the US at any one time. However, this group normally makes up about 30% of the list on every given year, which equates at times to as high as 139 persons. So instead of having 9, they have 139 on that list. This group of persons are all Jews, J-E-W-S, Jews. I think this is sufficient evidence. It is clear the Jews are punching above their weight in business. And it can be a result of them having more hard skills than others. Universities are well accessible by many, and especially in the USA. The success of the Jews in business lies in the soft skills that they have learned over the last 3,000 years, and which they pass down to generation after generation, but which can be learned by anyone, no matter your religious background. Anyone can learn them. There are around 40 business secrets in the Bible. In the interest of time, I'll just list 7 of these. You can research it others if you are interested. 1, God wants us to be preoccupied with the needs of others. It's what drives innovation. 2, an infinite God created us in his image with infinite imagination. Critical component for innovation. Making money is a spiritual activity. People don't take a look at it that way. One might say, how can a commercial transaction be viewed as spiritual? Try these tests. Can an animal, say chimpanzee, do it? Can a robot do it? A financial transaction? Economic exchange only occurs when 2 billion humans will exchange into existence. Faith gives money its value. The study of economics used to be done in religious departments of universities before it was moved to the science departments. 4, life is not about what you know, but who you are. Bad choices are not failure of knowledge, but failures of behavior. Moral failure. Knowledge does not alter our behavior to make the right choices. It is who we are that matters. It is who we are that leads us to make the right decisions and not knowledge. There are a lot of bright people in prison at any one time. making the wrong decisions. 5, to achieve success, we must build up our self-discipline, integrity, and character strength. 6, know how business works, understand specialization and collaboration. And 7, earnings and profits are God's way of rewarding us for forming relationship with others and serving them faithfully and effectively. So here's where we need to put in some effort as a country and a region if we want to have better businesses, both as individuals and as companies. We must see how we can better incorporate the development of these soft skills and spiritual principles in our school system, from kindergarten right up to university, so that our students as individuals will be better businesses. I'm very pleased with the policy positions of our new government to ensure coding, robotics, and financial literacy are core subjects in our secondary school, because those will help teach these soft skills, as well as the introduction of mandatory co-curricular activities. So the result of all these the three pieces of this puzzle, knowledge, skills, wisdom, soft skills, and spiritual principles, will lead to sustainable success. Success will last a long time. Wisdom will guide you to make the right decisions at the right times using the skills and spiritual principles that are within you. Will produce continuous value to your customers that will be willing to exchange their money for the goods or services you are offering, whether you are a business of one person, being employed by an organization, or a traditional form of business offering goods or services to many customers. People might be asking, how I get wisdom or get more wisdom? Well, it's not found in traditional schools. Wasn't mentioned in digital skills report by the consultants. I will never close my presentation by pointing you to where you can get it, and lots of it. So if you look in any Bible, chapter 1 of James, verse 5, it says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and to be given him. So, if we as a small country of 100,000, within the OECD sub-region of 500,000, surrounded by this global village of 7 billion people, which is to provide a better standard of living for all, call here our home, we need to punch above our weight. And the best way to do this is to obtain knowledge, seek wisdom, and soft skills. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless all of you. Last slide, please. Click on. Right, so this is the last slide. If you want to scan that QR code, you'll get a copy of my full presentation in PDF format, as well as little bonuses. You'll have 7 references, which was used in getting the data for this. And a lot more also if you go into the reference stuff. So again, thank you for your time.
Today we went through building awareness on the, around the NCTI in terms of ongoing initiatives, and we looked at many of the key partners involved in the skills development process in St. Vincent. The NTRC, the Ministry of Education are responsible for innovation and digital transformation and so forth. Of course, there is KCCU. A few projects came to the fore, the LEAF project, the Eco Youth Ventures project, and we do look forward to hearing all about the achievements under these projects. And so it's just left for me to thank you all once again for coming. This has been the IT conference hosted by the NTRC under the auspices, the NCTI, sorry, I always get them mixed up, the NCTI, under the auspices of the Ministry of Education, Vocational Training, Innovation, Digital Information and Innovation and Information. My name is Marlon Anton James, and it's been a pleasure. We do have some refreshments for you, so please partake on your way out. Thank you.